Hello and welcome back to my craft room. Well, I have just finished streaming our weekly Whip and Waffle Wednesday. It's the 10th of September and I was working on filling my hobbit hole, my project from last month's T.A.T challenge. T.A.T is my acronym I invented for thing awaiting transformation, because Tom calls everything in my room T.A.T anyway. So if you've seen the previous videos about this, I did one opening it and I think another one working on it, and now I've just got to fill it up and add the details and things, which is really the fun part. So I've got lots of little bits and pieces, and I've started during the stream, I started making little miniature version. I started making this little miniature version of our bonkers quilt. I've just sticked these pieces on at the moment. I'm going to use one strand of an embroidery thread just to tack these on, and then this will be draped over the chair, looking as if I've just kind of left it for a minute to go and top up the G&T or get another coffee. And I'm now going to start filling up the shelves and the walls and the chair and the table with bits and pieces. Where I can, I'm going to use things that came out of the box. So I've even, let me bring my tweezers into play, cut some pieces from, let me just show you. This is what's left of the paper backing that was in the monstrosity that Johnny sent me in the first place. And what I've done is cut some little pieces from it, and I will scuff those up a little bit, and I'm going to make them look like postcards, stacked up in a little letter holder on the shelves there. And I've got all kinds of bits and pieces, beads, little tiny bits of toot that I collect for doing this kind of thing. So this is the dome that will go over this in the end, and this is the piece of rope. The idea is this is looking in the window at a little hobbit hole sitting room if I really lived there. And I might put some moss and things around when I finish doing the paint job. I'm going to use some weathered wood paint crackle effect a bit later as well. Okay, I've actually just used my little finger knife to just trim down these shelves a little bit, so they've got kind of a curve to them now. And I've done the same with this sort of picture rail piece there, and I've cut the little table down a bit more and taken the bead off, because I think those were making too much bulk near the edges. And now that fits on much better again. I've got a few little bits ready to go. During the live earlier on, I took some of this corrugated stuff. I keep this kind of thing off of packaging. Whenever I get it on packaging, I stash it away. So I cut a strip of it earlier on and just rolled it and put a layer of glue over the top there. And then I was going to use a piece of this. This is one of those sticks from an old spent room fragrancer, but I'm going to use one of these furniture pens. I got these cheap, the whole pack, for well, it was in the pound shop. I know some things are more than £1 in the pound shop these days, but it was well cheap, and these are fab. I used them for this. I can't remember which one I used now. Doesn't really matter if I use a different one. Let's go cherry. They're lovely, just great way to quickly colour a piece of wood. I think I have gone something different this time, but it don't matter. They're not even particularly stinky. I don't even know if they're spirit based. I don't know what they are, but look how well that works. Of course, they're designed for covering little scratches in your furniture, which I'm sure they're also brilliant for. Okay, that's probably plenty of that. These little room fragrancer sticks are really handy, actually. Just get that last little bit in case it ends up showing. Okay. Dries really fast as well. And I can just stick that'll be enough. Probably glue that in once I'm sure. where should we put it? I could, if I wanted, I could do a little lace trim around there to make it look like a bit of fringing. I might do that. So I'll cut this down gradually rather than do it all at once. I want to put a little bit of tablecloth on this side table here, so I'm going to do that before I glue it down. So this is just more of the room fragrance that sticks there for the legs, and a couple of layers of cardboard for the top, which I coloured. So I used the same furniture pens to colour the wood and the card to match. Oh, come on, glue. Need some more of this glue. This glue is brilliant for all sorts of things. I love this glue, but it is quite expensive. Need to get some more. Put a little bit of glue on the top, and then I'm also going to put some on the sides, because that will help to keep the tablecloth down where I want it to be. Smooth that out a bit. I just want a little bit of the legs to show, or the leg. Pop that on the front, and then because I've got that glue on the edges, the side edges as well, I can just coax the cloth down over the sides like that, and it'll stay, hopefully. Okay, so now it looks sort of a bit more convincingly draped with a tablecloth. You can't see that other leg coming out, but that's sort of lost at the sides, so I'm not going to worry. There we go. And then what I wanted to do, you can barely see that leg at all now. Kind of like that. Just give a little pop of colour. I think that's quite fun. I've got this little piece, which I think might have been a bit of part of a games piece or something like that. I did keep things like that. I can't remember what it was. I just want to add a bit of colour to it, and the easiest way to do that is to use acrylic paint pens. Let's give this light peachy colour first, see what that looks like. It's only paint, I can always take it off. I've got this this gilding cream I've had for like more than 30 years, and they still make it. Tom looked it up for me. Liberon Gilt Cream, I think it was called. I used to use it for decorative effects and stuff years ago, but now I use it for crafting, and it had all dried up. But Tom looked online, found their website, found that they do still make it, and also very conveniently they mentioned that if you've got a pot that's dried up, you can reinvigorate it with white spirit. So I put some white spirit in earlier on, hoping I haven't put too much. It's more liquidy than it would usually be. It should be more like a cream, but that's, I think if I let that soak in a bit overnight, that'll come up all right. I think I'll try just putting a little bit of my finger like this and see if it'll work. Oh yeah, that's fine. That'll work. So I don't want it like all metallic looking. I just wanted to catch bits of it. And if you buff this up, you can get a real sheen on it. You know, I used to use it for indoor, furnishings and stuff. When we were all making things over in the 90s. I'll probably have another go at it when it's had time to soak overnight. Well, it's more like the actual cream should look actually. Let's have another go. in my hands now. But yeah, normally you just put your finger and you take up a little bit of the cream. It's not even really like a cream, it feels almost like a wax. You get the tiniest bit of it on your finger and rub it in and buff it up, and it just has the most beautiful effect. But I think for my purposes for this, that will do. So that's going to sit on my little table, and I'm going to make a faux candle for it next. So I think for the candle holder, I'm going to use another piece of that wooden fragrance, a stick thing, if I can find it. Where's it gone? Lost it. Go for a white paint pen this time. I'm going to use one of these just as part of the background in a minute, just as a, I mean, I could turn that into a wall light. I did think, I did really want to just use some of these and just have Christmas lights up or something. But I've decided it's just too much. So I'm not going to be doing that, but I might just use this odd one and just put it on the shelf just as a knick-knack, you know. So I'm going to cut the cord off it, and I'm just thinking this cord would be quite good for the to look like a little partially burnt little wick. And it's just separated itself out into three plies there, so I'm just going to keep that one because I'll make it a little bit thinner. That's probably a good idea. Put a bit of glue on it. Because this will do for my little wick. I think it would make sense to just make a little hole in the top to push the faux wick into, so it'll be easier to hold it. Let's have a little bit of glue. Here's my wick. Fab. And with the wick being being black rather than white, it does look like it's been lit before. Put the glues onto the table now, and then it's time for me to go off and to get dinner, and I will come back to this later, probably tomorrow now. Yeah, I think this table is kind of leaning forward, but I don't mind that slightly skew with perspective. Is quite, I think it's quite charming for me. I don't that doesn't bother me. Okay, time for me to stop for a bit. I've got things here to make. Books, my mirror, I'll do some fabric and things. I've got my quilt to finish. I want some half done crochet ornaments and things, some pot plants. It's bits that I cut to let the glass sit in better. Let's just cover them with the white first, and colour am I using now? Maple. I did the same with the shells, so let's just colour them up as well. Just decided the white was just too white. I just didn't like it. I might regret this, but I can always go over again in white as well. pop a little piece of, stick a little piece of cord with a bead on the end just hanging down there, so it looks like one of those old-fashioned lights that you could just have with the pull cord. Quite fancy that idea. It's just all adding little details really. I think I like that a bit better, that colour. I'm not utterly convinced. Right, I'm back. Let's start sticking some more bits on. That's the gilt cream. It's working itself up now, so I've given that another little application. I'm really chuffing my little candlestick. So I've got lots of bits and pieces here. I think rather than keep dithering, I'm just going to start sticking bits on. I'm going to be fairly random about it, just so I can get started. I noticed watching the live back while I was cooking dinner. I noticed that Sharon suggested that what would be quite fun, and I could use this for, is to make, you know, like the thing that this originally was, to make something like this on that back wall. I think that is a genius idea. So I think I'm going to have to do something like that. I thought I had some flat back cabochons that would fit, that would help me with that, but they're actually huge, these ones that I've got, so I think they're probably too big, but I'm going to find a way. I'm going to find a way to do that. I just think that is such a fun idea, definitely. Okay, so I'm going to just start filling up these shelves now. One idea that I had is to use a little square bead. I've got these little square beads I've had for so long, and this is a little eyelet thing. I'm going to stick the eyelet on top of the bead like that, so it looks like a tiny ink pot, and then I can stick my feather into it like it looks like a quill or something. So I'm going to do that. That's my little ink pot. If I want to be really finicky, I could probably put a little label on the front or something, but I don't think I'm going to bother. But yeah, I'll just set that to one side just to make sure it's completely dried, and then I'm going to put it on the shelf and put the feather in it. It'll have to be towards this side so the feather can stick out a bit, I think. Then you can get all sorts of like little washers and eyelets and beads and bead caps. Bead caps are really good, and just combine them in random ways to make little, you know, give the effect of little random ornaments. So like I've got this small wooden kind of washer bead. Oops. I put a liberal amount of glue on there, and then I'm just going to get one of these tiny bead end caps, and I'm going to put it on kind of upside down. I find these tweezers so useful because I'm butterfingers these days. And I'll just put it on that way up. So it just gives the effect of like a small shallow pot of some kind. I don't know. I could also put a little tiny bead in the centre of it as well, so it looks like a little handle. Let's see what I've got in here. There's a little square bead here that already seems to have got itself another bead stuck into it, so that looks like a tiny ball. That can go on just as it is. Our little beads come off it now, so I'll just glue that back on in a second. This is an interesting shape bead because it's just got the hole at one end, so it's kind of a bulbous shape, so that would make a really good shape for a handle if I can manage to pick it up and pop it inside there, which I will do off camera in a minute because I need to get my nose right over it. So that will be the handle for that one. That teeny weeny bead there is going to go on this one to make a little jar. This one is like a, I don't know what you call this thing, but it's made, you put it on with an eyelet setter. So I'm going to have that standing up that way on its flat base. This is another different shaped bead cap, so that could go on this wooden bead like that to make a little interesting pot, or it could go up the other way with, let's try putting something in it. Let's try putting that in it. This cylindrical wooden bead in it. Oh, that looks like a thing of some kind. It just needs to look like, doesn't need to be anything specific, it just needs to look like a random ornament of some kind. So yeah, that one I will stick together like that. This one, I've got this little piece, I don't even know what it is, it looks like the end cut off of something, I don't know, but I'm going to put it on top of this wooden bead like that. Wait, well, I'm going to throw it away, and it'll look like kind of the screw top of a jar or a cork or something. So yeah, I'll put a few bits like that together, just basically sticking beads together, and those, and I can put those on the shelves. I've got, this was another kind of end cap I think I showed earlier, so that one I'm going to put some of these little polystyrene balls. I've lost them, where have they gone? These little things, put some of them in there. I've got, I think, do you know, I don't even know what this is. I think it's some, yeah, I think it's a button. I think it's actually a button, but used that way up, I thought it would look like a little glass bowl, and I could fill that with some faux sweeties that I could put on the table beside me. Got my gin glass to do, got my little postcards. I want to make some books. So the books, I've got these little squares of wood I had from another kit doing something or other. They've got numbers on, but they obviously never got used. So I'm just going to wrap these in bits of paper to make a couple of books. Got some of this paper, which I thought would look nice. So I will just cut it. I want to be able to fold the end, so let's leave a little bit extra there. Right, so I've just got that bit folded like that, like a little mini dust jacket. And then it will wrap around and glue around my book like that. There we go. And I might just take my acrylic marker. This one, this is too, the colour of that one looks kind of like it could be pages. This one's too dark in the middle, so let's just do this, just lighten it up so it looks like it might be real pages of a book. I've got some odd things that will just stand alone, like the shells, little mini shells. Oh, I've got these. Let's go pink and green. I'm hoping that these little tiny pieces of gravelly stuff, I will be able to colour with these pens to make them look a bit more like the crystals, different colour crystals. So I'll do some pink and some green of those, and then I'm going to take some of the pieces of fabric that I used to make my quilt, and I probably will use a bit more of this, and I'll just create little faux folded pieces of fabric. So probably if I say I glued some fabric around that strip like that, and then I'll fold it like this, so it looks like a huge piece of fabric when it's just, I've just used a little strip. So I'll do that, so I can stick a couple of bits of folded fabric on here as well. Yeah, so I'm going to keep putting these knickknacks together, and then when I come to put them onto the shelves, I'll be back and I'll show you how they go, how I put them on the shelves, because that's the fun part really. It's quite hard to record these little fiddly bits, but yeah, I think I've shown you a bit of everything I'm going to do. I still want to bring in some of these little seed pod things that I found, so that I might just put a couple of them just loose on the shelf like that, because it is the kind of thing I do. I put pine cones on a shelf and things like that. So yeah. Oh, look at that tiny star, where did that come from? Can you see that? No, you probably can't. Hang on. Absolutely no idea where that came from. I'll have to keep hold of it carefully and see if I can use it. Okay, where can I put that where I won't lose it? Oh dear. I need to do some really fiddly stuff off camera now, and when I'm ready to come back and fill my shelves, I'll come back and show you, because that is quite fun, that bit. And then we've still got the paint effect to do. I've got the quilt to finish, and then my final assemblage, and I'm done. Right, I've got some more bits ready to stick in, so I took one of those little tiny wooden flower pot shaped beads and I stuck some of the moss from the old, from the original monstrosity in there, along with a couple of the little sort of hyacinth pieces that I had. They're just those kind of synthetic flower things. You can get them in craft shops and that. So I've had them knocking around for ages. I think it looks like quite a convincing little pot plant. So I think that will go up on the top shelf because there won't be room for it anywhere else. Yeah, so that'll go up on the top shelf. This is just... I can't even remember what this was. It was some... It was like the end of a pen or something like that I looked at it and thought, oh, that'd be really useful for miniatures. So that would just look like a kind of a vase. I could colour it if I wanted with acrylic markers, but I quite like it just that colour. So let's start sticking these bits on. I've got to bear in mind not to go too near the edges, otherwise the glass won't go over. Should be all right there. I also found, when I was looking through things, I found this little bird that I'd forgotten about. I must have bought this at a miniatures fair ages ago. I think I might add that, because I got to find a home for it. It will just go missing. I do love the idea of having a rude parrot. Should have decided which way around it was going to go before I put the glue on. That's those. I've made some, bits of fabric folded around that corrugated card that I mentioned. So I would probably put that on these kind of lower shelves. One last bit I could go in. And then I've made my little books. Those are the two wrapped around the wood. So I'll have them sort of pages outwards. And then I did this little one that's more like a folder. I did make another one that looked like I want it to look like a kind of wraparound art journal, but it's just turned out too big. Don't think I'm going to have anywhere that it will fit, except there, which I don't really like it there. So that will go into my little box to come back and fight another day. But let's get these in. I could go like that actually, because I do have folders like that. I could go that way. Let's see if the glass will still go over them. Yeah, it seems to be fine. Okay. My little beady pot thing. Kind of feel like it would make sense to put the inkwell on where the books are, but I wanted to be able to stick the feather in there as well. But let's go for it. If the feather won't go in there, the feather can tuck in somewhere else. Yeah, my idea was that the feather would maybe it'd go up that way. Actually, that's alright, isn't it? That'll work. I need to put that in afterwards though, after I've put these other bits on this shelf. I found this thing, which is just an end cap for making little tassel-y things and holding like leather thonging when you're making jewellery and things like that. This can just be a little thing all by itself. Great big glob of glue on that, I think it needs to be. I'm going to tuck that at the back there. And that's just some kind of random object. Doesn't really matter what it is. Just need these shelves to look busy. Got this pom-pom came off the hat in the original thing. I could just pop that down. Maybe that could go there. I was thinking of putting some of my knitting there as well. It could go anywhere. It doesn't matter. It could go there. That's fine as well. Should we do that? It's all a bit random. Kind of coppery coloured end cap, not coppery coloured, brassy coloured. There. I was wondering about putting this here, but I think it will be too, it'll be too high for the dome bit. Okay, so it can go there. Got this tiny little square bead. Ooh, I didn't stick that down, did I? That could just go there. So I want to fit in some of my little, whoops, seed pod things. They could just go on top of the books there actually, so could the shells. I've got this little dried flower that came out of the original piece. I'm thinking I might stick that in somewhere if one of these pots has got a hole in the top. This one would do. Got my crystals still to fit in somewhere. Maybe the shell could go on top of that. I think I'll only have room for one shell now. Whoa! I'll probably pick the smallest. Actually got room to put this. I've run out of space. Okay, that lives to fight another day as well. I also haven't got room for my little letter rack with the postcards. I'm just wondering if I could, what they'd look like if I just tucked them in amongst the books somewhere. Like I just tucked them in there so I don't lose them, you know. No, I haven't really got room anywhere. Could be there where I've been looking at them. No, I don't think there's room. I don't think there's room. I've got the little bowl of grapes or whatever this is meant to be here. I haven't ended up with the gin and tonic being in here, but I think I've picked up my gin glass to go and refill. That's what's going on here. It's looking a bit empty down that side, but it kind of needs to be because that's where the glass goes. Just wondering if I can tuck these in here, and maybe with a little something in front of them that I would wedge them behind. That's too deep. It's too deep. Yeah, I think it'd be quite a nice touch just to have them tucked in there, just because they're a reference back to the origins of this thing. Just put them in a bit random, and then I'll find some sort of a square bead or something to put in front of them so it looks like they're tucked behind it. Oh, it's upside down. Yeah. Okay, we'll just put another shell there. Yeah, so it looks like I've just tucked the postcards in behind something to keep them safe. It's looking a lot more crowded now. So so this funny little bird, I'm just thinking he could be perching on the lampshade. So I've still got to finish my quilt and get that glued into place. I've got my balls of wool to make. Oops, piece come off. I've got my balls of wool to make and the cat to felt. Then I've got to do my paint effect and put the dome on. It's quite a bit still to do actually, but we're getting there. Pleased with how the shells are looking. They look like my kind of shells. Well, they don't quite because they're not full enough, but you know. Okay, I've got a bit more prep to do and then I'll be back. I really, really love Sharon's idea of making that little faux monstrosity there. So I'm going to work on that too. But I think that's something I'm going to have to do off camera. Okay, I'll be back in a bit. Okay, I've done a little bit more. I've stuck the Wonka's quilt into place, and I've made, hopefully that's glued now, I've made a little wraparound. This is very much like I've got a lot of these in real life, these kind of wraparound needle books stroke art journal wraps. You know, I just basically I make them in all different sizes, and they're really good for carrying all my bits and pieces to use on a project. So I might quite well have one of those near me when I'm working on a project like this. I'm going to stick that in a minute. Which direction shall I do it? Like that? No, that would look more natural. And I did manage to make a little a little miniature version of this piece that I'm working on as it looked when I got it from Johnny. Well, not quite as hideous as that. I did start adding some bits of moss and then decided that was too much. I didn't want that. But basically I got lucky. I'd actually cut some more, you know, the plates that I showed earlier. I used I think a 1 1/4 inch circle punch to cut out a whole load of scenes and patterns and things to make those plates with, and this was one of them. So what I did was I put that down, then I glued a glass cabochon over the top. So the only cabochons I had, I was hoping to use these sticky, self-sticky plastic ones, but I didn't have any smaller, so I used the glass one, which was really deep, but actually that's turned out okay. So I stacked up some of these rings, these 3D printed rings that Tom made me, dropped the cabochon inside with the scene glued behind it, and then put a wider 3D printed ring over the top. You can sort of see there where I've stacked them up. Coloured that with some of those furniture pens again. Added a piece of just, you know, crochet yarn, cotton yarn. Yeah, so that's that. I was so happy with that. Not something I'd thought of doing, but yeah, very happy I ended up doing it. Stuck the bird on. I don't think I've done anything else since I finished recording. I'm just going to stick this piece in now. Actually, I think I want that the other way. There you go. It's the kind of thing I would do. I'd have it perched on the arm of the sofa or the coffee table in front of me, whatever. I'd get up and dump it down when I went off to get another coffee or snack or gin tea. So now all that's left to do is finish painting the frame and then glue my glass back on and the rope trim, and I'll be done. I think, you know, I wanted it to look like you were looking in a window at a hobbit, the inside of a hobbit hole. I don't think it looks like that, but I'm very pleased with it as a little miniature scene of my little dream sitting room, stroke craft room. I think I might have mentioned earlier, in my dream home, every room would be a craft room except the kitchen and bathroom, really. So I'm going to try this. I did promise during the live that I would film this to show how it works, this stuff, because it's so good. I'm going to use this weathered wood stuff. This is my old bottle. I might need to go into the new bottle because it feels like this is maybe pretty much gone now. And this is the newer packaging. I did hear someone told me that they were going to stop doing this. I hope they don't, because it's so good. I love it, and it just creates this lovely crackle effect if you use it with acrylic paints. So the idea is that you put your base coat on first. This is the colour that's going to show through where the cracks are, and then you put your top coat. So I tend to use a darker colour and then a lighter colour over the top, but you could do it the other way around. And I'm just going to paint a layer of this on. Let's just pour a little bit in here. And it looks like I might have to start the new bottle. Oh no, here we go. So obviously you let your base coat dry first. I'm not putting it on super thick or anything. It's not even particularly stinky. It doesn't smell like it's spirit based or anything. Well, I know the other thing I did. I found a couple of small pom-poms and wedged them into the shelves as well to make them look more full, and then I cut the ends off. I used some snippers and cut the ends off a couple of pins with smaller heads to look like knitting needles. Thought that would be fun. Do I really need a cat as well? Is that going to end up looking a bit too busy if I do? I can think about it later before I finally glue these together. This is just, soapy water clean up stuff. Have I got it all over? Catch the light so I can see if I've missed any bits. So now I've just got to let that dry now before I move on to the next stage. So I'll be back. I'll have a bit of a clear up, and then hopefully by then it'll be dry and I'll come back and show you the crackage. Okay, in the end I couldn't wait any longer and had to help this along with a hairdryer, and there's still a couple of tacky bits, but I think I've done it tacky before anyway. So I've decided on this colour called Vanilla Bean, this craft paint. It's sort of creamy colour. I'm not convinced I'm going to love it. If I don't, it's only paint. I can paint over it again. I might end up sanding it back as well a little bit in places. So I squeeze a little bit of that out on my palette, my glass mat. Now, one of the important things when you're using this is that you don't want to be overworking it. You want to be able to pretty much do it in one stroke and leave it. You want it to go on easily. So that paint is looking a little bit too stiff to me. So I'm going to add some water and get it a nice sort of even consistency before I start trying to apply it. And I'm going to record the cracking action in real time so that you can see. Oh, it's still not, it's a bit lumpier than I would like really, this paint, but I'm just ending up with it going all over the glass mat. So I think we're going to go with it. Fingers crossed. So as I say, just go over it in one smooth thing. You don't want to keep going back and forth like this. You can see it is actually already cracking under our very eyes. Cocked up a bit there, but isn't that good? That effect is amazing, isn't it? I'm just not convinced that I've chosen the right colour in the end there, but I've decided not to dither any longer because I really wanted to show you how well that crackle effect works. And I think the idea is that the thicker you put the paint on, the bigger the cracks you get. So where the paint's on much thinner, you'll see a little kind of more kind of crazing there, and where it's thicker you get those big cracks like here. And I still think I might just cover the back of this with some pages from my old copy of Lord of the Rings, my old falling apart copy, which I've kept because I couldn't get rid of it, so I thought it would be nice as a background. Yeah, so probably what I'll do is I need to let this completely set, and then I'll just give it a coat of varnish. I found it very durable. I've even done a similar effect with different colours on the frame of our bathroom mirror. So that's in a bathroom where it gets all steamy and everything, and I just did one coat of varnish over it and it's been absolutely fine. Yeah, it was just like a cheap tacky looking finish, and it just made it look, yeah, it just really gave it a whole new lease of life. So yeah, I need to let this fully dry now. I've got far too much paint now, which is annoying. I have to see if there's something else I want to undercoat with that, and then it will just be a case of putting the glass and the rope back on. That won't take long at all to dry now. The weathered wood medium does seem to take quite a while to dry. I think I put it on a bit too gloopy and thick in places, which is a waste because it doesn't need to be. But yeah, just wondering if do I dare balance at least the rope on now for my thumbnail. It's not truly finished because yeah, I will be sanding bits of this off, going back to that dark coat that I did first that you might remember, and I might paint some words along here as well, the Shire 2025 or something, I don't know. Kind of feel like I left more space up here than I needed to, but it gives it a bit of light relief, I guess. Yeah, that's okay. Still not convinced about the colour. I might even end up weathering the colour down a bit with some other paintwork. I'm not sure yet, but yeah, but that's it for now. That is it. I am done with this project. Thank you again to Johnny for this challenge. I've already had the new box from him. Have I got it up here? I have got part of it up here. What am I going to do with this? There were also some other items in the box that I might make over as well. So yeah, that's going to be the next the next instalment in this little series. I'm dying to see what Johnny does with what I've sent him. It's something completely different from last month, so yeah, looking forward to seeing that. Do go over and check out Johnny's channel if you haven't already. I need to go and have a look and see if he's actually opened his box yet that I sent him for this month. I haven't checked for a couple of days. Okay, right, anyway, thanks very much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed that, something a bit different for me. I will be back very soon with something else. See you again soon. Bye.